October 8th, 1998. Biography with Jack Perkins. He starred in more than 100 movies, from Lassie Come Home to Planet of the Apes. And Roddy McDowall had just as many roles off screen. Photographer, film buff, friend to just about everyone he touched. Right now, those friends are in mourning. Roddy McDowall died Saturday at the age of 70. From the time he was a small boy, he was a headliner on Broadway, in movies, on television. He also became a film historian and a leading crusader for the preservation of Hollywood's earliest movies. McDowall once explained his passion for film by saying, quote, "The movies are important. I'm not." Well, his fans and friends disagree.
I will never leave you, Mama.
You, boy, if you should ever leave me, I'll be sorry I ever had babies.
Why did you have them? Jeepers, I could ever have a coat like that.
The same thing I like about Roddy now, I liked about him as a little boy. I related to him. I believed him. I could trust him, even as a child.
He was a very, very fine actor from the time he was born. He was a young star in the picture business.
He was a survivor because he was one of the few child stars that were able to make the transition.
Queen Cleopatra's second procession into Rome will surpass her first.
I discovered evidence of a simian culture that existed long before the sacred scrolls were written. Objection!
Each decade, whatever it was, Roddy was there as this sensational character actor.
Roddy loves the business. He likes everything about films. He certainly knows almost everything about it.
He's a kind man, an honorable man, an honest man. He brings that goodness and that honesty into all his work.
He was one of Hollywood's most famous child actors and grew up to become one of its most respected stars. But despite having spent over 60 years in the public eye, he has remained a remarkably private man and confidant to many of the industry's most famous personalities. An award-winning actor, a gifted photographer, and an ardent activist for film preservation, Roddy McDowall has become an integral part of the Hollywood history he so loves. England, 1928. Londoners were dancing to jazz-age hits like Button Up Your Overcoat and queuing up to see the glamorous American stars in silent movies that were all the rage. It was here on September 17th that Roderick Andrew Anthony Jude McDowall was born. Roddy's mother, Winifred Corcoran, was a spirited and ambitious young woman who had dreamed of being an actress and got a brief taste of show business as a singer with the band of the March King, John Philip Sousa.
She was very outgoing. She was very warm and generous. She was a very gregarious woman. I always say she was like a kaleidoscope of feelings and attitudes.
In 1925, Winifred's dreams of stardom were put aside when she married British merchant marine officer Thomas McDowall, a handsome 29-year-old Scot who had fought in the First World War. By the time Roddy was born, the couple had settled into a modest home in southeast London with their first child, the daughter Virginia.
We were 11 months and 3 weeks apart. And my mother always brought us up as twins. We were very close. We really didn't play with other children. We were totally dependent on each other.
Even before Roddy and Virginia entered school, Winifred taught the children how to read and encouraged them to sing, dance, and play act. She also shared with them her passion for motion pictures at the Saturday matinees. Like so many starstruck mothers, Winifred hoped to see her own ambitions realized in her offspring. When Roddy was just 4 years old, she arranged lessons in poetry, speech, and Shakespeare for him and Virginia. Within 3 years, she had established little Roddy as a sought-after model, promoting a variety of products from Kellogg's Rice Krispies to Persil, a popular British laundry soap. But Winifred was determined to provide her appealing son with a better showcase for his talents.
People would so often come up to my mother and say, he's so darling, he's so wonderful, he should be in movies. So she took that to heart. If my mother set her mind to anything, she usually achieved it.
In 1937, Winifred found Roddy an agent who began securing the 8-year-old bit parts in modestly budgeted movies. Roddy enjoyed performing, and his expressive eyes and engaging manner soon brought him bigger roles in more prominent pictures, such as Murder in the Family and Just William. For the next 2 years, the Moppet worked steadily. And by the time he was 11, Roddy McDowall had appeared in 17 feature films. But young Roddy's burgeoning career would soon come to an abrupt halt. On September 3rd, 1939, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany. And London rapidly came under fire from Hitler's superior air force.
We used to watch the planes in the searchlights on the coast. You could see the Messerschmitts and the Spitfires fighting it out. And we slept in a cupboard under the stairs for weeks. The bombings were very unpleasant, to say the least, although my brother did love to collect the shrapnel.
Roddy's father was determined to stay and defend his country. But when a German bomb ripped a hole through their roof, he knew he had to get his family to safety. In September of 1940, 12-year-old Roddy, along with his mother and sister, boarded one of the last boats out of England and headed for America. Roddy bid his father a tearful farewell.
It was devastating to leave Dad. It was devastating because we loved him dearly. And here he was going to go back to sea, and we knew it was dangerous.
Sailing toward an unknown future, the family crossed the battle-ravaged Atlantic under the constant threat of torpedo attack. Hoping to provide distraction for her frightened children, Winifred arranged for Roddy in Virginia to perform in a ship's concert for the other passengers.
We did Puck and the Fairy. Mother just happened to have the costumes handy. He was so adorable. People loved it. They just loved it. And there was a picture of us in the newspaper when we docked.
Capitalizing on the welcome publicity, Winifred lost no time in finding her talented son, a New York agent, who referred the experienced child actor to 20th Century Fox in Hollywood, the same prestigious studio that had made little Shirley Temple into America's biggest star. 4 weeks after arriving in the United States from war-torn England, Roddy found himself in Beverly Hills, California, at the elegant Beverly Wilshire Hotel. Although he was utterly exhausted, Roddy's screen test so impressed Fox executives that they offered him a studio contract and a leading role in their much-anticipated production of How Green Was My Valley.
The casting was almost inadvertent because they had in mind a boy of a totally different age bracket, and they rethought the part when they discovered him. They tailored that part for him.
How Green Was My Valley was the bittersweet saga of a Welsh coal mining family torn apart by change, as seen through the eyes of the youngest son, Hugh. Directed by John Ford, Roddy co-starred opposite Anna Lee, Walter Pidgeon, and Maureen O'Hara.
How are all the boys and girls we used to know?
Well, the Jenkins girls are married. Baldwin Hughes is going to be a doctor. Reese Howell is in a solicitor's office. And they're sending home 10 shillings a week. Mr. Griffith.
Is he ill?
Inside. In his eyes. In his voice.